Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel, Curious Perro. Today we're going to have a video on the 2020 Fantasy Baseball Shortstops. I hope you enjoy this video. Today's video is going to be about shortstops in the 2020 Fantasy Draft, but before we get started, a little note to those of you who are just starting to tune in. I am posting a number of videos, a series in fact, of different positions and the Fantasy Draft so that you can improve your fantasy selections for this year's 2020 Draft. I've already posted videos for catcher, first base, second base, and third base, today's shortstop, and tomorrow I plan on hitting up a video that is going to be about the top outfielders. Please subscribe and click on that bell so that you can be notified when I post my next video. My number 5 shortstop in this year's fantasy draft is Xander Bogaerts of the Boston Red Sox. He had an incredible year last year. He batted .311 with 33 home runs, 110 runs scored, 117 RBIs. I mean, on those 4 categories, just phenomenal season. Low on the stolen bases. He has very good potential going forward, just as you can imagine based on those numbers. The problem is the Red Sox might be a little more quiet this year, having lost Mookie Betts, but maybe not. A good draft option with a good team, which should be right in the middle of the order. So consider Xander Bogaerts as your number 5 fantasy selection at shortstop. Number 4 selection at shortstop, Javier Baez of the Chicago Cubs. Javier is a crazy hitter. He hits the ball very hard. He has good numbers, 25 plus home runs with above average in terms of runs scored, RBIs, and he has a decent batting average right around 280-ish. He does strike out a lot, so there's a lot of at-bats without much productivity, but he moves around in the lineup and has a lot of potential to add to your team. You won't get stolen bases, though he has speed, but maybe with changes in the management, there might be a change with the aspects of his season that they ask of Baez. The number 4 pick, shortstop, fantasy draft, Javier Baez of the Chicago Cubs. You know you're getting old when you remember about a player in his rookie year and he's been playing for quite a few years. My number 3 selection in this year's fantasy draft at shortstop is Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies. Who can forget how he broke out his first year, those first few weeks, hitting all those home runs. That being said, he continues to hit home runs. He hits around 35 every season. He does strike out a lot, but he has a pretty good average in the 280s, He has typically between 85 and 90 runs batted in, and usually scores over 100 runs a season. He can steal a few bases for you, probably in the low teens, maybe the high teens in a good year. A good strong selection. He's obviously on the Rockies. You wouldn't necessarily want to have other Rocky players if you get him, but he does have the benefit of Coors Field. My number 3 selection at shortstop, Trevor Story of the Colorado Rockies. My number 2 selection at shortstop for this year's fantasy draft, from the Washington Nationals, Trea. often talk about stolen bases. Well, Trea Turner is one place you can get those stolen bases. He has typically over 30 plus stolen bases per year. I think he had a high in the 50s one season. But the way the ball players play anymore, to get stolen bases, you probably need to have Trea Turner as one of your players. He hits around 290-ish every year, and he's a plus player with regards to runs and RBIs. He typically hits between 15 and 20 home runs. He's a good producer in a Washington Nationals lineup that's going to be a little different than it's been. He's at the top of the lineup, often first, sometimes second. So he has the opportunities to get on base, steal a base, score some runs. Trea Turner, Washington Nationals, my number 2 selection at shortstop. My number 1 selection at shortstop for the 2020 fantasy draft is Francisco Lindor of the Cleveland Indians. I actually love this guy. He is just an exciting ball player to watch, particularly from the left side with the power that he has. He gets 30 plus home runs every year, 20 plus stolen bases, 110 plus runs a year, and he has a good batting average around 280. He really gets you about everything you want from a player, including he moves around in the lineup. They use him different ways, so it helps that he'll get different things on different days. The one caveat is there's rumors that he'll get traded. That could either be good for his season or it could be hard on him. It's hard to know. My number 1 selection at shortstop, Francisco Lindor of the Cleveland Indians.